Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Blue is the New White podcast. Today I have 3 guests on the show. That's a first for me. They're all from the same company though, Gary's East Coast Service. Of course, Gary Petitti himself, his wife Angela, and one of his 3 daughters, Lyndsi. And yes, they all work under the same roof. I wanted to sit down with them today to have a very real conversation about how the business was started and what it's like working so closely with so many family members. Their short answer? It's great. In business now for almost 27 years, Gary's focuses heavily on their employee relationships and love interacting with their customers. Listen in to hear us talk all about what led to the birth of their company, what they consider as their 4th child, the growth and challenges through the years, and of course the generational element that comes with a family-run business. All that and their definitions of success and what they find every day inside the business that leads them toward it. As always, this show's not monetized and we don't run ads. We rely strictly on word of mouth from our listeners to further the mission. So if you enjoy this episode, please take a moment to rate it, review it, and share it. The future generations of tradespeople depend on it. They depend on you. So thank you again and enjoy this episode of the Blue is the New White podcast with the Gary's East Coast Service family. Lyndsi, Angela, and Gary, it's awesome to have you on the show. Finally, I know that we were scheduled back in April, but we all know what happened in April. So I'm glad to finally get you on the show. Can't wait to hear your story. Gary, I'd love to start with you. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and kind of telling us a little bit about your background, your business, and how you got to where you are today.
All right, my name is Gary Petitti from Shelton, Connecticut. And I got into the business actually as a kid. I always liked taking things apart and fixing them. Anywhere from lawnmowers to mini bikes, and I always had to fix them, make them work better. And as I got older, I'd fix things up, sell them to make money. My dad was a television repairman. As actually one of his jobs. He was a tool maker by trade also. But as a kid, I always followed him on all the service calls. We go to people's houses to fix televisions and put up antennas. So I know as my younger years, I would always carry a tube checker, and that's what I would do is check the tubes. And I really enjoyed the television, getting into soldering and wiring and electronics of everything. So I really, when it came to high school, wanted to go to a technical high school, which was very popular at the time, very hard to get into. So I didn't make it on the first wave. So I applied for a part-time position so that anybody that would drop out, I would be able to possibly get the fill-in spot, but you had to go to school twice. You had to go to regular high school and that. So it was kind of get you geared up for working long hours. So I did that, and I did get in, and I was able to pick my shop, and I got the senior year. The program was supposed to be television repair. By the time I was a freshman, and it was industrial electronics was the class. By the time I got to junior year, they did away with the television repair because solid state came into effect, and it became a computer electronics repair program. So I went along with it. I was kind of bummed out that the television thing kind of died out because it was getting more to the point where you just throw them out by another one. But along the way, I got involved in there and doing car wiring and car stereo amplifier installation and stuff. So I used to be able to do a lot of that in the school program. It's kind of got me motivated to work. And then from there, I went on to State Technical College for biomed hospital equipment repair. And I really didn't like the college work because I didn't like all the academic classes. So kind of dropped out of that. and went to another technical college and got a degree from that. But in between all the colleging, I worked at a nursing home doing maintenance, building maintenance, and I used to fix a lot of the kitchen equipment in there. So I got recruited from a service company there to go and go work for them, and then I was like, was able to apply a lot of my mechanical abilities, and that, in fact, the first job I went to, I used to repair all the trucks there and learn the trade. And I don't know, I did that for a while. I worked for that company. I worked for another company. I worked for a big company. I really wasn't happy with, the other companies, so I decided to give it a try myself. And being married to my wife, Angela, her background was the business part of it, and she was tired of hearing me complain about everything at work and stuff. So we decided to put something together and try it ourselves.
Wow, I was actually in banking. I wasn't in business. I was in banking. I was a mortgage loan officer at a bank, and so I didn't really know anything about running a business, but I knew how to take a tax return apart and find out where the money was coming from that people said they had. So when we started the business, we had somebody come and set up a computer with QuickBooks on it, and I was able to figure out how to book expenses and do those kind of things by backtracking it from the tax return, which sounds totally crazy. And it's totally crazy. My accountant thinks I'm nuts sometimes when I talk to her because the way my mind works and backing it up that way. But that's kind of how it all began, right? A bedroom in our house and the garage is the shop.
Yeah.
Bedroom, two big desks in a little tiny bedroom with a bunch of cork boards with notes on them for service calls, right?
You're running around all over the state doing whatever calls come home. There'll be a big box, delivery box. You have to check everything in and do the billing. It was a long days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like looking into a mirror. It's so funny. That's exactly. I mean, not exactly the story, but I mean the start. I mean, when we started it, we were running it out of my dad's front room, and the garage was basically the parts warehouse, and until it got so big that it started overflowing out of the garage, and HOA started calling saying, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" And then the tipping point was once we started doing work for XLT, they started delivering ovens to our house, to his house. And, and back then, I mean, we're working out of a garage. We didn't have a forklift or anything like that, right? So we used to call the trucks over and then get a tow truck, a flatbed tow truck, have them pull the ovens off of the box truck onto the tow truck and then lower it down onto the street where we could get a pallet jack underneath it.
Wow.
But those are the days, right? I mean, you don't know, so you do what you have to do. But that's the beautiful thing of starting a business is that, like you, Angela. I mean, you didn't necessarily have the business background, but you knew how to look at numbers, and you knew how to reverse engineer a tax return. And from there, and what year was the business started?
1994.
1994. So that's what, almost 25 years ago, right? 26.
March will be 27 years.
In March.
Wow, and that's fantastic.
We were very young.
What else?
Still young.
We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
No, I know. I tell my dad all the time, you couldn't have started a bait shop or something. It had to be a service company. Come on, man. No, but the truth of the matter is, I mean, we use our skills and our expertise and we find a way to make it successful. Gary, that's a really awesome story you've got. So you were working with your hands when you were young, and you kind of, was there any doubt in your mind that you were going to end up in a field working with your hands? Maybe not necessarily kitchen equipment, but did you always think you would work with your hands in one way or another?
Oh yeah, I was. I was like, I loved the technical school. I respected my instructor. Like I said, I was weaseling out of the academic classes, so I come into the shop to do little projects with him, and he was a mentor. He was just a good friend, and it was a lot the theory part of it, I mean, I took it all in, but my working with the hands was the best,
Yeah, that's the best way for a lot of people to learn, and I mentioned that in my book too. That's what it was like for me. Like the academic portion of things, I did okay in high school, but I mean, most of it was for lack of trying. It didn't interest me. You know what I mean? The books and the tests and stuff like that. I would much rather, I wasn't working on TVs, but I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin. So, I was always tinkering with ATVs or, my parents loved this one. Every time they got me a really cool Christmas gift, I'd take it apart. And so, every time they got me something cool, they walk in my room and I had all the pieces laid out, and they're like, "What are you doing? That was like $150." And I was like,
yeah, that's a telltale sign right there that you have to work with your hands, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, so that's super interesting. So, it was at the nursing home where you did maintenance. That's when you actually started working on the kitchen equipment?
Right, because they had a commercial kitchen in there. So being in maintenance, they'd call in, I'd take things apart, and then I'd end up calling somewhere for parts, or and someone had said, you sound like what you're talking about. You're looking for a job. And at the time, I was still in college, or I just got out or something. I really didn't know what to do, and I'm like, what do you got? And so I went and interviewed with them, and it sounded interesting, something different. And my hobbies were, building hot rod cars and custom motorcycles and stuff. And that would have been my dream job, but you don't really make any money with that. And it's, with the food service business, everybody has to eat. So
yeah, that's right. Sometimes you have to weigh that practicality against passions, and, that's the reality of things. But, from what it sounds like, you were able to turn that into a great success. I mean, any business that's been around for 20 plus years has got to be doing something right. I'm sure that took a lot of figuring out and doing wrong before doing right. But, at least it did for me. I don't know. Maybe you got it right on the first shot every time. But
yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we had our first employee like 6 months into him, and we went quick and grew across the board. Started our family, and everybody's like, you're gonna have a boy. He's gonna be help you out with the business and all that. So we have 3 children, and they're all girls, and they all work for the company. So.
Well, I've got 2 girls, and I'm afraid to try for a third. No offense, Lyndsi. No offense, Angela. Just saying, I'm already overrun, and yeah. So no, but that's great. And from now, do all of your kids, Angela and Gary, do they all work within the business?
They do. Yes, they do.
That is awesome. So, what are their roles? Lyndsi, let's start with you. What's your role in the business right now?
Well, I do a lot of different stuff. I guess I currently have been doing a lot with like the education and training stuff. So we've been putting together, especially because with COVID and things were slow. So we're trying to be proactive. So I worked with the service manager, and he has the technical knowledge, and then I would kind of use my book knowledge, and I would take what he would say or take resources that he would have, and we'd find videos and kind of put them together. And I create like different exams and stuff for the guys to kind of like learn stuff. And then I help him put together some hands-on stuff too. So I've been doing a lot with the training, but then I also do a lot with the marketing, anything with the website or the social media. My sister also helps with that, but so yeah. And then I also,
all the technology is in her realm. Or
yeah, that's like totally not my brain. So
yeah. Whenever we need forms that are, digital, fillable, that kind of stuff, that all goes to Lindsi. She's got a degree, double major in English and communications, and so those are where we put her to use those skills.
That's fantastic.
When I was in trade school and they had that typing course in the county, that I'll never need that to type. Or they had a language class. I'm like, I don't know. That's the ones when I shot off and skipped off and went down to the shop and I did things. But now I wish I learned how to type. I wish I could speak the
you're
language
getting faster.
I don't know.
It's amazing though, isn't it? What this industry is doing. Like, You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't long ago. I mean, even when I came on in 2008, the industry wasn't anywhere near where it is today as far as technology goes. You know, I mean, when I came out onto the company, my dad wasn't even accepting credit cards. You know, it was cash or check. That's it. And I said, Dad, why aren't you accepting credit cards? And number one, I don't want them to take my money. And number two, I don't know how. And I said, okay, well, you know, let's talk about it. And you know, he credits me, you know, for me being of the younger generation, you know, kind of bringing us into the technology age. But it's almost necessary today, right? I mean, with everything that we see, I mean, you got. I'm sure you guys do a lot of work with like Service Channel and warranty portals, you know, and global warranty, all that stuff. And it's hard to imagine, you know, not being plugged in, if you will, these days. I don't know how the business would run, you know.
When we started, we had one computer and we were cutting edge at the time because all our invoices were all computer generated and all of our competitors were still handwriting stuff. So we were like cutting edge at that point, you know. It was like, and that was one of the things we fought a lot when we first started over what we were going to spend our money on, whether it was going to be a new van, or no computer, or if it was going to be a used van and a computer. And we went head to head for quite a while with that money. And I was just like, no, I'm in charge of the money. You're not getting it from me. You're going to computer. Because I was still working my other job. I'm like, there's no way I can do it without the computer, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've come a long way since those days with one computer.
That's cool. I mean, that's a good story. I mean, that's like the all-American, you know, startup business story right there. So how many techs do you have now?
We have 10 techs.
Yeah.
10 techs.
That includes Gary,
11.
because I include 11 with Gary.
Oh, okay. Gary, you still out in the field?
I do. I put fires out and you know, certain projects, but I'm kind of backing off and letting the crew do the work. So, you know, it's a good group of close friends, family. You know, whether it's cousins, godsons, son-in-laws. You know, working with us. So, and most of them are all trade school graduates too. So,
okay.
Technical school. We see that's like a really good start. And then with Chris, who's my cousin and service manager, who went to the same course I did too at the tech school, and Lindsays are doing the education committee. They're helping, you know, add new technology and just, you know, basic technical knowledge to all the techs.
Very cool. So I've got a couple of questions for you. Now that you're kind of backing off, you said a little bit from the field work, are you finding that difficult because you've been doing it for so long? And you know, I know that you know, kind of when I was in the field, even though I wasn't in the field for very long, you know, I had my own way of doing things. I had, you know, and so anybody new that we brought onto the company, the way that I was doing things is what the customer really liked. And so I was terrified that when I took a step back into the office and out of the field, that it wouldn't be done, you know, the same way. And so I really struggled with that. And I kind of, well, some would tell you that, you know, maybe I micromanage them a little bit, saying, hey, do it this way, do it this way. So are you finding that difficult, or because you're such a close-knit group, does that make it easier for you to kind of turn it over?
No, I find, well, I'm still always have to, you know, get involved, and I'm the landlord now at our new building. So that keeps me busy with stuff. And everybody will chime in and you know, ask certain things, or I'll even help refurbish equipment. I still like to do that, you know, get involved with that at the shop. But yeah, I don't know if it's really necessarily.
Yeah, he has certain people that have been customers for a long time that he really wants us to check back with him when we go there and stuff. But a lot of the newer customers don't even really know who he is. I mean, every tech that goes out is Gary. You know, the neat thing about being Gary's East Coast service, that all our customers think the tech that's there is Gary. So they're always calling looking for Gary, and he has all different displays. Which Gary did you have? What do you look like? You know, so we can figure out who that was. But yeah, he has, you know, we have customers that have been there since day one, and those customers still, you know, especially if there's a problem from time to time, there will be. They'll want to talk to Gary, and he likes to try and follow those. But the other customers that are newer, you know, really they're more, you know, our service manager, Chris, he's got his pulse more on those customers, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You know, I still have customers from 10 years ago that will call me direct, you know, and then I see some work orders on the board and I'm just like, who's that? You know, when did we pick up that account? That's cool. So I definitely understand that. So my next question to that would be, is it, you know what, and I'm going to ask each one of you individually this question, because I don't know if any of you would have different answers. Lyndsi, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Is it hard working with family?
I would say most days no. Like most of the time it's, well, we're pretty good about keeping ourselves separate. Like I do a lot with like the service, and my mom's more like accounting and my other sisters are more accounting. So we have like our own parts that we work on, and then it's just kind of more like if we have to work on something together. So it's not like we're spending every minute together, even though we work together. So I think that's nice, and that we all have like different strengths and weaknesses, so we kind of balance each other. Like we're lucky we're not all trying to do the same thing. So for the most part, like I think it works out well, and like I enjoy getting to see them and talk to them, and you know if something pops up or there's a problem, like you know you can just kind of be straight about it. Like I mean, we all try to be professional in the workplace, but you know sometimes if you're having a bad day or something and people are a little more understanding when it's your family, or like they're not going to be as offended or hold it over you, or they'll say knock it off, like get out of that bad mood or something, you know. So I think generally it's good.
Okay. Angela, I'm going to ask you the same question. How many times a day do you want to kill Gary over there?
Well, Gary is an exception to the rule of the No, really, Gary and I have always kept things separate, and that's how we've been able to work. You know, I do the business end of it. You know, he'll often people will ask him about numbers of sales, whatever. He's like, I don't even know what I make in my paycheck. My wife does all of that. What is it? You know, but I know nothing about the parts orders or any of that kind of stuff. I just, you know, I don't know really any of the customers unless if I know the customer's name, it's not a good customer. Because I'm looking to collect from them, they're past due or there's some kind of issue. So yeah, I really try and stay on the service side. I really try to stay more on the business side. And that has always kept us good. And when those kind of mix, you know, it's kind of like the van and the computer. We get into some hashing out about different things, but we always work it out, and we never stay mad about it. You know, working with my daughters, I love working with them, seeing them every day and watching them grow and develop into, you know, what they're doing, and be able to trust them and like you said, bring things into the next generation. You know, if they weren't there, I don't know that I could trust somebody to do some of the things that I've allowed them to do, and especially at their age. I think, you know, they're young, and I'm like, you know, I look at Lyndsi, and, you know, she's just a year younger than I was when we started the business, and so I'm like, I always have to remind myself that, you know, she's capable. She's totally capable of doing some of these things that, you know, I would never trust an outsider at her age to do those things, and that's not an ageism thing. It's just a matter of having, you know, experience under your belt. I think, you know, you look for that a little bit. But, and I know she's going to come to me and tell me if there's an issue or a problem, like right down to the littlest detail, you know? So, yeah, I do. I enjoy working with them.
That's awesome. Gary?
I'd say Angela and I pretty much had a conversation at the dinner table every night back in the early days. And then when things got on track and everything together, there's no more talk of work at the dinner table until the three girls started working there again. It all came back. We're like, oh no. So we all kind of agreed that, you know, there's a time and a place.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and it sounds like you raised your kids right, which is awesome. So kudos to you for that. So I'm curious, you know, as far as your children, Lyndsi and the others, at what point? How should I ask this? Was it assumed or planned that they were going to be part of the business, or is that something that they wanted to do once they saw what it was all about? Lindsi, maybe you could speak to this on your behalf, and maybe your sisters too.
Yeah, people ask us this a lot because I think we are super involved, and they kind of assume our parents maybe strong armed us, but they always said do whatever you want. Like I was encouraged to go to school for graphic design and stuff like that because that's what I had an interest in. And I mean, I guess we've kind of always been involved, since we were really little. My dad would come home and be like, "You want to earn $10? Go clean the van. You want to put stickers on the part bag." So I feel like we always kind of got to see a little bit of it and get involved. And then I think when I was in high school, my mom asked if I wanted to pick up a couple shifts, answering the phone and stuff like that. And I was like, this is just temporary, Mom. I'm going to New York City. I'm not going to work here. And look where I am 10 years later. And I love working here and I would never move to the city. And I don't know. It's just once, I think for me, we would, you don't always see what's right in front of you. So, my parents were doing a really good job. They were really good to my coworkers or employees. And I didn't know it at the time because I didn't have any other experience. And then the more I kept kind of going on with my life and learning different things in college or whatever, I was like, wow, they're doing that. They're really treating everybody right. This is actually a really nice place and a nice atmosphere. So that's when, for me, it was duh.
Oh, that's really cool, and that's super interesting, to me, because you hear a lot of the opposite, right? When you talk about family-owned businesses and stuff like that, and I love asking the question when I do talk to family-owned businesses because the answers are often just way different, and so let me ask you this: being in this field, in this industry, what is it that you, Lindsi, love most about it? And I'm going to have the same question for the two of you too, but we'll start with her. So get thinking.
For me, I really like the people in the industry. There are a lot of family businesses, I think, or people that don't, and they don't just assume I'm just sitting not doing anything and my parents are just paying me or something because it's a family business. So they understand that there's a lot more work and stuff involved. So I like that there's not that initial assumption, and that people tend to be really hospitable and willing to talk about how they do things and kind of sharing their knowledge a lot, which I don't know. I just like that feeling of camaraderie and kind of helping each other and I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. I mean, what I've found in this industry is, like you said, the people. They're, and I'm, of course I'm generalizing. There's some shitty people in our industry. I won't name names, but but the fact remains that most of the people in our industry are so humble and willing to share what they know, because I think it's what I say a lot is that it's a growing industry with a dying profession, right? And so everybody has, I think everybody feels a need to share what it is that they know with the younger generations, whether it be through an apprenticeship or what have you, an instructor at a trade school or something like that. But the transfer of knowledge seems strong in this industry, and of course that doesn't hold true for everyone. But most of the people that I meet, I just love being able to have a good, hearty conversation, about what it is that they love and how they define success. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, Angela, same question for you. What do you love about it?
I mean, I pretty much what you guys are saying. This industry is full of people like me. Family-run businesses. People have started from the ground up. They've either started themselves, or their father started the business, or their grandfather started the business, and the family's gone through. And I love being able to talk to people who are multi-generational and can hear how did they transfer ownership from one generation to the next, and to be able to have that information. And everybody's so willing to share what they do. And whether it's that or dealing with manufacturers or customers or whatever it is, other people in this industry. And so it makes you feel like you have a peer group. And you have, even though we're just this little company here in Connecticut, I feel like I have a branch of all these other people that are part of what I do. And I love that.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. Gary, what do you love, man?
What I love about
The industry. You
free,
like
free food.
Yes.
No, I like interacting with people, and like, the nice thing always is even techs that have came new into it didn't know what to expect, and they will always come back. I really like this because I don't do the same thing every day. And it's like you're not going to the same job. You're traveling, you're meeting different people, you're doing different things. We do like your company just the hot side, so we're not dealing with extra hot temperatures. We just went into the air conditioning now and heating. So, but yeah, I like fixing stuff, and it's a different challenge, different adventure every day.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's another answer that I hear a lot is the challenge, that it presents. I one of the things that I love about the industry is that it really forces people to grow. You know what I mean? It forces people to grow professionally because you're constantly learning something new. As my dad would say, it's not just a job, it's an adventure, and every single day, if you're out there in the field, you are learning something new, and there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But on a personal level too, I think that, the trade really does a good job of instilling certain values in people. Like before I got to this company, I say I was a punk kid. I don't want to make it sound like I was a lost boy or anything. I wasn't. I had a good head on my shoulders, but typical. I would sleep until 9 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever. I'd stay up late. I had my priorities kind of mixed up, and once I started getting my hands on things and working 12, 15, 18 hours a day, it really forces you to take a good look at what it is that you want in life, and then apply the values that you're able to learn on a daily basis, from that hard work into everyday life. Especially when we talk about, one of the biggest things is like customer communication, right? We're in a specialty trade, so a lot of times customers don't understand what it is that we're saying because we're using jargon, the FM safety valve and the Basso safety valve, and all these different terminologies and things like that. And you really have to, no disrespect to customers, but you have to dumb it down sometimes to be able to communicate what it is that you want to say. And I've found that incredibly helpful in my personal life, especially when I'm arguing with my wife, and because I can communicate better, and it's these small little takeaways that I've learned through, coming up in this business. So very interesting stuff there. So what's the plan for the business? Are you guys looking to continue to grow? Are you looking to kind of keep things where they're at? What's the future look like?
We always try and do 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan every year, kind of sit down and say where we're at. And COVID just kind of blew everything out of the water. I'm just looking to get through to next summer. And I'm hoping at that point I can sit down and take a look at what's going on and say, all right, where are we going? Before COVID, just, looking to grow as we needed to, we would get more customers and that kind of thing. We were just, putting it out there and seeing what happened. And,
We got to move into a new building.
Yeah, we recently purchased a new building. We had been renting before that. So now we have an industrial condo that we own, which is great. And like Gary said, he's a landlord now, so he has another hat that he wears. We really like being there. And so yeah, just like I said, getting through COVID is really a big thing right now. That's been a tough tough thing to get through.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think just really bulking up the education and training and getting more remote capable in terms of that. But
Yeah. And that's a tough thing to do in our industry, you know, getting remote. I mean, even when you're talking about learning, you know, again, going back to hands-on, right? It's when you switch to remote with learning, it's still learning on theories instead of learning on what's right in front of you, you know, so it proves difficult. And to your point, Angela, yeah, this year just I am ready to pack 2020 up and leave it in the rear view mirror, you know. But you know, people need to understand too, businesses like ours, the struggle is it's real. I mean, we service restaurants, and restaurants, we all know how much they were impacted by COVID. So, you know, come the end of March, that's when it really got bad in Arizona. I don't know, you know, when it got bad for you guys.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that was kind of when it was for us too. And I mean, as soon as the governor made the announcement that restaurants were closing, my stomach sank, and I was like, okay. So now we have to figure out where to go from here. You know, there was a long period of time where I think the unknown just really was eating it at everyone, you know. Hopefully we don't have to see anything like that anytime soon again.
Yes, yeah. So we kind of went from the, you know, looking out a year or 3 years, whatever, to, you know, 1 month at a time, you know, and just kind of looking forward that 3 to 4 weeks, and where do we think it's going to be? What are we looking at cases of COVID, that kind of thing. So that's where we're at right now, you know, trying to keep everybody, you know, we never laid anybody off. We're just trying to keep everybody working as much as we can. And, you know, so that's just what we're doing now. And like I said, my hope is that by, you know, late spring, early summer, that we'll have enough past us that then we'll be able to look at that more long-term plan and, you know, focus on that a little more.
Yeah. I think we're all waiting for that. Now, are you guys typically equally busy all year round, or do you slow down in the summertime a little bit, or?
No, we're typically January, February is a little slow, and then, you know, July and August are typically a little slow, and then the rest of the year is pretty steady. Well, the end of the year, usually September through December is usually our busiest time.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, we've been steady considering. You know, we're keeping everybody working. You know, the calls are coming onto the board and they're going out, and there's nothing left over. But you know, we're doing it. So
yeah.
So I'm happy with that. Feel blessed that we have that, because I know not everybody does.
No, and I think that's a testament to the strength of your organization. Did you say that you didn't have to furlough anyone, or you didn't have to lay off?
No, we did not. We didn't furlough anybody.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's a really great accomplishment given this year. You know, I mean, that's something you can hang your hat on for sure. And hopefully, knock on wood, that we continue to see business grow and all this stuff come back. And you know, I think that I'm not sure what the future looks like for restaurants. You know, I think we're going to see a lot more to go stuff, but you know, I'm hoping that we can just get back to normal. You know, I just want to shake somebody's hand. You know what I mean? One step at a time. And I still shake people's hands. Don't tell anyone, you know, but you know, it's in my nature. What can I say? But that's really impressive. So even though you may not have your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year goals, at least if you're not thinking about those right now, I totally understand that. But what about an end goal? Is this a company that you want to see handed down to the generations? Or is it something where you want to build it up and you know, have an exit one day?
Yeah, I mean, if the generations want to take it, I would be more than happy to pass it on to them. You know, Lindsi was talking before, and something I wanted to say that I didn't get a chance to was that, you know, this company is like our fourth child. You know, it comes, you know, like Gary is saying, it would come to the dinner table with us, to go on vacation with us. You know, we're on top of Mount Washington, and Gary's answering a service call, and you know,
kayaking.
Kayaking. We got pictures of Gary in a kayak with his big sun hat on a service call. You know, I mean, it's a part of who we are as a family, And so I would love to see them go forward with it. We just had our first grandson, you know, and
Congratulations.
you know, his dad's involved with the business, and you know, we hope that, you know, it does continue on and that they're able to take it and make it even better. You know, I had a stepfather that was in manufacturing, and he continued his business from his father and passed it on to his kids. And, you know, so I see that, and I think that it's a great thing when you can do that. And I think, you know, Lyndsi sometimes would say to me, you know, I don't know what if I should go out and do something else. I'm like, you know, people think that our success means she doesn't have any. I'm like, but you're starting here, and now you can bring it that much farther. Like, I can't go that far that fast. You know, I need you to take it from here and move it forward if that's what you want to do. And I would love to see that. So, but and at the same time, if they say, you know what, don't want to do that, but we'll figure something else out. So
yeah, and that's interesting, and I think that's with family-owned businesses. I think that's a common theme. My dad is the same way. You know, if anybody says, "Hey, are you looking to sell?" You know, it's always the same thing. If somebody offers me $100 million for the business, I'll take it. I said, Dad, nobody's offering us $100 million for the business. He goes, all right, good, then you take it. Okay. No, but it's great, you know, and I think that again, it presents that challenge, you know, needed to continue to grow. I'm a lifelong learner, you know what I mean, and in a business like this, you know, businesses like ours, the challenge is always there, and you're always going to strive to improve on things, make things better. There's always something to improve. Gary, you know, you just said you put out a lot of fires now. You know, how many fires a day do you have? I mean, if you count all the big fires and the little fires, there's a lot of fires to put out, right? I mean, in this industry, it's kind of a certainty. And honestly, I mean, I think that's what keeps us going a lot of times, you know, is being able to do that. I don't know. I might just be talking now off in my own little world, but it happens sometimes. You know, and it's really interesting, and I'm curious. I'm curious, Gary. This is going to be more of a personal question, but it just clicked with me that you said that you just got your first grandson, first grandchild of any kind.
yes.
Okay, how's that feel?
It feels awesome.
Yeah.
See, there's light in the tunnel by getting a boy in the family. See? Maybe you have to wait till one of your daughters has one.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, I'm not trying for a third, so it's going to be up to them. But yeah, it's you know, when I had my kids, I know my dad was very he was pumped to be a granddad. He said, now I get to you know, do all the fun stuff and get to hand them back to you for all the stuff I don't want to do. I said, well,
Exactly.
great.
It's the best. It's absolutely the best.
That's
You
awesome.
do no wrong.
And how long ago was that?
He's 5 months now.
It's
So
July 2nd.
Oh, wow. Super fresh.
July 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know it was around 4th of July before after.
Oh, that's funny. You're forgiven, Gary. Your name's on the door.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool, and that's a great story. So, we're gonna move towards wrapping this up here pretty quick, but I do want to ask another question, and I'd like each of you to answer. If you had any advice for anyone out there looking to get into a career, why should they consider the skilled trades? Angela, let's start with you.
Well, I think that, you know, like Gary said, it's never boring. There's lots of things to learn. I mean, technology is constantly changing so that you can take that base set of knowledge and continually apply it to these new and innovative things that, you know, are coming out on the market, and, you know, gives you a lot of ability to grow, you know. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Gary, what do you think?
Like I said, I'm a firm believer in trade schools. I mean, if it's a younger generation, not sure what to do, definitely get into a state technical college, technical high school, technical college for sure too. I mean, getting involved with hands-on for anything. I mean, even if you're not sure what you want to do, that's what's nice about the technical high schools. They'll give you try a lot of the different shops first. To keep the younger generation off the video games. Get out of the room and get outside and tinker and play with stuff,
That's right. If you work with your hands, you will never be out of a job.
And
we're essential, right?
That's right.
And computers and everything are great, but the market's flooded by it, and there's really not much with that. And there's so many people that can be on one side, but who's going to be on the other side fixing stuff?
That's it. That's right there. And even some people even make the argument to me, well, what about AI? Aren't you worried about AI and robots? I said, oh, somebody's got to fix those robots. No, I'm not worried about that at all. You're always going to need human hands.
They still got mechanical parts, right?
That's right. Lindsi, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of covered it. I mean, it's a really good opportunity, especially if you're somebody who likes different challenges and doesn't necessarily want to sit at a desk. But even if you do want to sit at a desk, there's plenty of jobs and stuff there as well. And I think it really, there's a lot of room for growth, whether you end up becoming a trainer or, different things like that. So I think that, I don't know. They kind of covered it.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, and the trades too. It's not just our trade. I mean, there's, you can be a plumber, you can be a carpenter, welder, an auto mechanic. I mean, there's so many hands-on trades that can be sought after. That they're still building houses. Houses need to be remodeled. Cars need to be fixed.
Yep.
So
and a lot of those skills too are transferable too, right? I mean, and you know that, Gary, from your days fixing television sets and then getting into industrial electronics and car wiring and stereos and eventually ending up fixing commercial food equipment. I mean, these skills, when you work with your hands and you talk about the different trades, a lot of them are definitely transferable. So if you have that base set, that base fundamental, and that knowledge and that mindset, you can really, I don't want to say hop from trade to trade because you want to focus your efforts in so you can become a master of your craft. But if there's a trade that you get into and you find it's just really not for you, it's easier for you to pivot into another trade from there rather than
exactly. You can apply that your skills. I mean, actually, one of my television repair days were probably with my father, and like I said, my senior year they did away with the course, so I was kind of disappointed, in that. But it's just because the solid state wave came and things really weren't fixable, or it was kind of a new, to it. And I was like, now what am I doing? My dream was I'll work for the phone company and be a lineman, work on poles and stuff like that to do. I always thought I'd do that. I'm so glad I didn't do that because that's like a dead trade now. Everything's wireless and
yeah, but then you would have been able to go into something else.
I would have been retired by now from
right.
But the skill, like again, your skills, I could go anywhere. I could have did auto work, motorcycle repair work and stuff. But I was like,
once you have that core set of skills, you really can take it and snowball it into just about anything.
When I got a taste of this industry, I was like, it's a little bit of everything combined.
Yes.
You're doing and you're always learning something every day. I mean, I'm still learning. I don't ever think I know everything.
The second that you think you know everything is the second that you're in deep shit.
Yeah, I think new techs get really overwhelmed when they go out the first few months and the amount of things that they have to learn and know. And I always tell them, go back to Gary. He still will go into places and he walks in, he's like, I never saw this before. I don't know, let's take a look at it, and, we'll give them, ways to troubleshoot it with the customer and say, hey, how do you use this? What do you do with that? And, once you start talking to them, you realize that it's similar to something else and you can figure it out from there, but yeah, every day is different.
I think the younger techs get more intimidated by an older piece of equipment. Like the older tech or the senior techs, when they see something that's, technology wise, where the younger guys jump right in and they can program it and do this and that. And so we have a nice blend with our crew. So
Yeah.
Each other.
Yeah. No, that,
why a coffee maker has to be computer operated is beyond me. I don't know. It can't just be auto,
half this stuff has Wi-Fi now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And if you ask me, I prefer the older equipment. Give me especially like the old Hobart mixers. We do a lot of refurbishing of those. And those things they're tanks, man. We've got a mixer in the back right now. I think that is going on 101 years old,
Wow.
something like that. Still works. Who knew?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually should post some pictures of that. It's pretty cool.
You
You
should.
should, yeah.
But,
Obviously someone took good care of it.
Yeah, no, and but anyway, those machines, those are the ones I prefer to work on. Those one or like
not the legacy one, not the legacies, all the plastic gears and stuff in there.
no,
Just the-
no. Yeah, those. Yeah, we're talking about the old, the old
it's the
mechanisms.
traditional.
What's that?
The traditional.
Oh yeah, the H600Ts or even the H600s. Those are my forte. But yeah, and then the old ovens too, and all you have is a thermostat, and a gas valve. I mean, give me those all day long. But anyway, okay, I've got one more question, and then I'll let you go. I know you guys are busy, running a business out there, so I won't take up too much more of your time. But Gary, this one's for you. I talk a lot about success and defining success, and I know through life our definition of success changes, right? Usually we start off and our definition of success is money or fast cars or traveling or whatever. And as we go through life, our definition of success changes. And I like to think that the skilled trades are something that you can adopt in your life that can lead you toward whatever definition of success you have, right? And pivot in any direction you need to achieve that. So Gary, what is your overall definition of success?
Well, definition of success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My family and the business.
Yeah.
Health,
Yeah, health.
right?
That's great. That's great. And that's simple, and that's fantastic. And you're in an industry and started a company that enabled you to do that. So, it sounds to me like you're living your definition of success right now.
And I could not have done it alone. I tell it all the time. I was like, it should have been Gary and Angie's East Coast service. It's team effort. I mean, even the whole, we have employees that have been with us since the beginning, and it's just good overall team effort. So I don't try to take all the credit. It's, just because it says Gary, we're a team.
That's awesome. That's such a perfect answer. I can't even. That's fantastic. All right, Lindsi, why don't you go ahead and let people know where people can find you?
Yeah, so Gary'sEast.com or on Instagram at Gary's East Coast, and we're also on Facebook, Gary's East Coast Service.
Wow, you've got that down. Fantastic. All right, great. Well, I'm going to hit the stop button here. I really appreciate you guys spending the time to talk with me today. I think that my listeners are going to find a lot of value in this episode, especially those who are in a family-owned business or are thinking about starting a business or who are just interested in the skilled trades. So thank you so much for your time today, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Josh.
you.
It was
Yeah, thanks
great.
for having us.